right, so you want to learn the dreaded bar chord. All right, well, I'm here to help you, give you some tips. I've been teaching lessons a long time. I see people struggle with this of all skill levels and all ages, so don't feel discouraged. You'll get it. So the one that everybody probably tries to learn first is the F, right? The F bar chord. You should be probably fairly familiar with this shape. First fret, third fret, second fret, and then you're continuing to bar. So essentially your index finger is barring the low E string and then the two bottom strings, the B and the E. So the first couple things, I'm going to show you little tips on how to, make it easier on yourself. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to show you the three main figures that you should learn first. So first thing is that I see most people struggle with is they kind of cock their wrists in a weird motion to kind of angle themselves all around trying to get it. You don't want to do that. You want to try to keep your wrist as straight as possible, or else once you're starting to try to play these, you'll get all kinds of cramping issues or whatever. So trying to keep that fairly straight back here, a little bit of curve, but you don't want to be really having your elbow way out or way in or anything like that. Second thing is when you're doing your bar with your index finger, try to turn your finger just slightly so that you're using more the bonier side of your finger as opposed to the kind of flat part. A lot of times you'll get a string that'll kind of go right in the crevice of your kind of crack between your knuckles, and that makes it hard to kind of really fully push down. So turning just a little bit so that you're using the side of your hand is very helpful. Also, don't be afraid to kind of experiment with where your index finger is, kind of sliding it up. Everybody's hand is different. I've seen millions of people play the bar chord different ways and be successful. So it might just be the fact of maybe kind of throw your finger up a little bit higher and maybe you'll be able to get better leverage. That being the point there, the leverage, the pinch with your thumb. You should have your thumb on the back of the neck, probably right about the center, if not the top of the center of the neck, right behind the index finger. And with that, you can kind of pinch together to give yourself the leverage. Okay, a lot of people kind of get this sound. They'll have a hard time kind of getting those bottom strings to ring out. Don't get too hung up on that. Even if you play this without the bottom strings, you're still getting all the notes of that, in this case, a major chord. Okay, so those are the main things. Wrist, don't try to be at a weird, awkward angle with your wrist. Use your thumb and index to pinch together, keeping your other fingers going straight down. Keep them curved. The more you flatten out these fingers, the more you're just going to mute other strings. So keep those straight, going straight down on the strings, and then using kind of the side, a little bit of the side of your finger. Okay. The other big thing is that most people try to start with the F. The F is literally the hardest place that you can play this bar chord, is at the first fret here on the F note. So a lot of times what I see more success is try learning it up at like the 5th fret or somewhere up here. The frets are a little bit closer together, and the strings, you're not battling the nut here as much. So it's actually much easier to play this same exact shape, just play it up the fretboard a little bit. Maybe experiment with trying it up here somewhere. It's a little bit easier to get all the notes to ring out. Okay, so those are the biggest things. The other things that people struggle with that sometimes they don't even realize is make sure you have a decent setup on your guitar. If you have a really cheap guitar and you have really high action, or even just kind of high action, which is the amount of space between the fretboard and the strings. Like if your strings are really far off of here, it's really hard for anyone to play the bar chord. So check with your local luthier or guitar shop or whatever, and if you think that might be an issue, get a little setup. It's not super expensive to get your guitar set up, and you should be in the habit of doing that anyway. The other thing is, slap some, especially if you're playing acoustic and you're trying to do these bar chords, make sure you got like some thinner strings. If you have trouble doing the bar chord and you're playing mediums or something, put some light gauge strings on there. I play light gauge. I personally like the sound of them anyway. So that being the other thing, if you are having trouble and you're trying this on an acoustic guitar, try it on an electric if you have one. Way easier to play bar chords on an electric guitar, and you could at least get like the feeling of the shape and everything that way. Okay, so those are the main things. Hope that helps. So at the end of the video, I'm going to show you the best ones to be working on. So this is your major bar chord, and a lot of times you'll hear people call this root on the E string, meaning the root of the chord is this index finger note on the E string. So wherever note that is on, that's what chord you're playing. In this case, I'm at the 3rd fret, so it's a G major because this is a G. So this is a G major, G sharp major, A major, B major, so forth and so on. So you can use it all over the place. So the other ones in that shape, so there's major. If you just take your middle finger off, that makes it be a minor bar chord. So now I have G minor instead of G major. And this is kind of nice when you're not using your middle finger. You can actually kind of use it to help push down your index finger a little bit more. Kind of helps get a little bit more squeeze. The other one that you're going to want to learn is the same as the major. Okay, there's the original one. Take your pinky off, and that gives you a dominant 7, or in this case, a G7. I'm still at the 3rd fret, G7. So that's G7, A7, so forth. Right? That's your kind of blues chord. Okay, that's a good one. So those are your root on the E string, kind of the essential 3, major, minor, dominant, 7. Now, the next ones I would suggest learning are root on the A string, where you move down like this. Okay, so this is your major, like here, kind of some people play it like this with 3 fingers. It's essentially just like an A major chord, just moved up and barred, right? So here would be a C major, because remember the root is on the A string for these shapes. So I play it with 1 finger barring across, which is probably a little bit more difficult, and you kind of sacrifice getting the note on the high E string, but still works. So that, or you can play it with all 3 fingers, 1 finger on each string, 3, 5, 5, 5, 3. So this, essentially, if you play it with 1 finger, you're not even really barring with your index finger. You're really just playing 1 note and just kind of not playing the low E string and kind of just not playing the high E string. Still works great. So that's major. If we want to make it minor, we do this. So I'm not playing the low E string, and then I have 3, 5, 5, 4, and then barring on the 3rd fret on the high. It's essentially the same shape you were using for this bar chord that we started in the beginning. You just move everything down 1 string, and now you have a minor chord down here. Really useful chord. The 3rd one for dominant 7 is you can play it like this, and then do this kind of shape. So that'd be 3rd fret on the A, 5th fret on the D, 3rd fret as part of the bar on the G, 5th fret on the B, and then 3rd fret here, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3. So that's your major, minor, and dominant 7. Hope that helps. Comment below if you got any questions or anything, other tips or things that you'd like to see videos on. Have fun.